Today, I want to talk about a feeling that I think a lot of us try to ignore. It's that quiet, creeping realization that the thing you used to love more than anything else in the world just doesn't hit the same anymore. For the longest time, I thought I was just broken. Or worse, I thought I was just an adult. You know how it goes. You buy the new game releases. You watch the trailers during the game showcases. You get hyped. You spend $70 of your hard-earned money, and you boot it up. The graphics are so realistic you can see the individual sweat pores on the protagonist's face. The map is 3 times the size of a real-world country. There are skill trees, crafting mechanics, and a battle pass. And you sit there, holding the controller, staring at the screen, and then you slowly realize that your enjoyment is only mild at best. You play for an hour, maybe 2, then you close the application and spend the next 3 hours scrolling through a streaming app instead. I lived in that limbo for over a decade. I went from being a kid who breathed video games to someone who played maybe twice a month. It was a casual hobby I did out of habit more than anything. I thought the magic was dead. I thought my inner child had finally packed its bags and left. But I was wrong. The magic wasn't dead. I was just looking for it in the wrong decade. To understand how I lost that spark, you have to understand how I found it in the first place. My very first glimpse into the world of gaming was with the Atari 7800, and to be clear, I didn't actually own one. My parents weren't exactly lining up to buy me a console. So I did what any desperate game-starved kid in the neighborhood did. I would go over to my neighbor's house and just sit there. I'd watch them play whenever they felt like playing, but I had no leverage. I was entirely at the mercy of their whims. If they wanted to play for 5 minutes, I watched for 5 minutes. I vividly remember a game called Tiger Heli, a vertical shoot-'em-up with these tiny, pixelated tanks and helicopters. I was absolutely dying to play it. I wanted to hold that joystick so bad my hands shook, but I never got the chance. I was just the audience, a tiny, captivated spectator watching blocks move across a screen and nothing more. Eventually, a different family got a Nintendo. Yes, the original NES, the gray toaster. Once again, my living room remained tragically empty of consoles, so I shifted my operations to their house. Thankfully, these neighbors actually had a soul and let me play on occasion, and that was the exact moment the trap snapped shut. I was officially and unconditionally hooked on video games. Experiencing Super Mario Bros. For the first time was like a caveman seeing fire for the first time. The momentum, the music, the colors. And then there was Guerrilla War, this absolutely chaotic, top-down run-and-gun arcade port that felt dangerously mature and incredibly satisfying. Needless to say, I was an obsessed child. I was a gaming junkie dependent on the charity of friends. But then, the miracle happened. My dad came home one day with a box. He bought my brother and me our very own Nintendo Entertainment System. Finally, I didn't have to beg the neighbors. I didn't have to wait for someone else to lose for me to get a turn. From that day on, I was a zombie. I was completely sold. If I wasn't at school, I was glued to that old television. My entire daily schedule became a frantic race against time. I would fly through my homework, scribbling answers down at Mach speed just to earn an extra 20 minutes of playtime. I became a master negotiator, constantly begging my parents to let me play 5 extra minutes. As the years went by, the natural evolution happened, and I graduated to the Super Nintendo. And if the original Nintendo hooked me, the Super Nintendo completely consumed my imagination. See, I've always been a creative person. Even as a kid, I had this massive, chaotic reservoir of childlike curiosity. I would be playing a game, and I'd see a faraway island drawn into the background landscape. I would legitimately sit there, staring at the screen and thinking, maybe there's a secret way to get to that island. What if I jump off this ledge at the exact right frame? Is there a cheat code in a magazine I haven't read yet? I wanted so badly to explore inside the massive, imposing buildings on the first level of Mega Man X. They looked so detailed, so full of life. I'd press myself against the walls, or wishing I could press up on the controller and walk through a door in the background. Of course, looking back, it's all hilarious. There was nothing programmed there. It was just a flat layer of pixels scrolling at a different speed to create the illusion of depth. There was no hidden world, but that lack of comprehension is exactly what created my sense of wonder. The game gave me a canvas, and my imagination painted the rest. That wonder made me want to create. I remember sitting at my kitchen table with a notebook, drawing out my own video game levels on grid paper, mapping out where the enemies would go, where the hidden blocks were, having absolutely no earthly clue how coding or game development actually worked. I just knew I wanted to build worlds. Eventually, I also got my hands on an old computer, which opened a lot more doors, and I discovered many classic computer titles. And just when I thought the magic would never die, something inevitable eventually happened. Just to give you some context, I always owned Nintendo consoles, but I was never a fanboy. I didn't hate Sega or Sony or Microsoft. I didn't care about corporate tribalism. It's just that Nintendo was where I started, so it was my comfort zone. So I followed the pipeline, Super Nintendo to Nintendo 64, then carrying a Game Boy Advance in my pocket, and later unfolding a Nintendo DS. And then, the real world happened. Adulthood hit me like a runaway train. The full wrath of responsibilities, bills, jobs, relationships, and just the general fatigue of existing in the modern world. I still played games. I tried to anyway, but as any adult would know, playtime becomes this incredibly scarce resource over time. It gets chopped up and crowded out by daily adult maintenance. But it wasn't just a lack of time. Something else was changing. As you age, other interests start to gain momentum. You discover new hobbies, or maybe your career demands more of your mental bandwidth. Your brain gets tired and energy levels drop more easily and quickly. And for better or worse, modern video games were going through a massive cultural shift. Suddenly, realism took the front row seat. Everything had to be gritty, grounded, cinematic, and photorealistic. Those beautiful, vibrant, pixelated graphics I grew up with were suddenly treated like ancient relics, artifacts of a time when technology just wasn't good enough yet. Now don't get me wrong, I'm not a total contrarian. I play the occasional modern hits. I played Super Mario Galaxy and felt that sheer joy of gravity-flipping mechanics. I played Half-Life 2 and was blown away by the physics and the storytelling. I climbed towers in Assassin's Creed and marveled at the sheer scale of the historical sandboxes. They were good games. But somewhere deep down, I slowly began to notice a void. Games were fun, but they didn't give me that feeling anymore. That pure, unadulterated, childlike excitement where you can't think about anything else all day at school or work. And for a long time, I told myself that was just normal. I convinced myself it was a mandatory part of growing up. We outgrow toys, we outgrow cartoons. Naturally, we outgrow the way we used to feel about video games. We become sophisticated. We want complex narratives and gray and brown moral choices, not bright red plumbers jumping on turtles. So I accepted it. Video games went from being a core pillar of who I was to just a casual footnote. I became that person who booted up a console maybe twice a month, played a couple of matches of something, got bored, and turned it off. And because I was constantly chasing the new stuff, I completely stopped looking backward. No retro games. Why look back when the future is so shiny? Except the future was making me feel good, but never amazing. And then, by pure accident, I broke the cycle. I don't even remember what triggered it. Maybe I saw a screenshot online, or maybe a specific soundtrack popped up in my recommendations, but I fired up an older game. A game I hadn't touched since I was wearing oversized jeans and worrying about high school exams. And the second that title screen appeared, something inside my brain just snapped back into place. It was this completely indescribable surge of genuine, uncomplicated joy. A feeling that modern, multi-million-dollar AAA masterpieces hadn't given me in over a decade. Seeing those worlds again made me feel right at home. Looking at those distant, unreachable objects in the background didn't frustrate me anymore. Now I obviously knew they were impossible to reach, and that brought a new sense of charm. Those old games didn't demand 80 hours of my time just to finish the prologue. They didn't ask for my credit card to unlock a cooler outfit. They didn't require a 50-gigabyte patch. They just sat there, waiting for me to press start, ready to give me everything they had right out of the gate. They made me smile, and I mean genuinely smile. Cut to today, and my gaming habits look completely inverted compared to a few years ago. I find myself playing far more retro games than modern ones. Now, let's keep it real. I haven't turned into a total hermit. I still love the occasional new title. Modern gaming has its absolute triumphs. I've put hours into Need for Speed Heat. I've lost myself in the dystopian, breathtaking chaos of Cyberpunk and Expedition 33. But my roots and comfort lie in the simpler, blockier, louder titles that force me to look past the modern armor we all put on as adults. And let's be totally honest here, some of these old games were objectively terrible. Terrible controls, unfair difficulty spikes designed specifically to make you lose quarters, broken mechanics, you name it. But I love them anyway, because even in their flaws, they still have tons of personality. They weren't all designed by a corporate committee trying to maximize user engagement metrics. They were often designed by a small group of nerds in a room trying to make something cool. Financials were still involved, but I really believe investors and shareholders are more prioritized nowadays than they were in the past when it came to game development. Now the excitement is back. The smile is back. Does it hit exactly the same way it did when I was 10 years old? No, of course not. We can never completely recreate the magic of being a kid with zero responsibilities. But it lights a fire in me. It gives me a sanctuary from the noise of the modern world. I don't know how old you are. Maybe you're a fellow millennial, and your brain just lit up because you remember the shareware days of PC gaming. Maybe you remember spending hours on Epic Pinball or racing through vibrant levels in Jazz Jackrabbit. Maybe you lost your mind trying to solve puzzles in Deadly Rooms of Death, or spent way too much time playing the weird, forgotten titles packed into the Microsoft Entertainment Pack on an old Windows 95 computer. If you remember those, then you know exactly what I'm talking about. You know that specific flavor of digital magic. Or maybe you're younger and read the comments of people talking about the 90s and you can't relate at all. Maybe your first taste of true gaming magic was booting up a PlayStation 3 or an Xbox 360. Maybe your core memories are the original Modern Warfare lobbies or exploring the wasteland in Fallout 3. If that's you, that's still just as valid. Those were your golden gaming years. It's the place where your imagination took flight before the realities of jobs, bills, and adulthood started crowding it out. The point isn't to say that old games are inherently better than new games, or to gatekeep what counts as a real gaming experience. The point is that if you are currently sitting there, looking at your massive library of modern games, feeling completely numb and wondering why you don't love your hobby anymore, you might just find that the spark never actually went out. It was just waiting for you to come back home. Thanks for watching, and let me know in the comments below. What is that one game that instantly brings back your smile? I'll see you in the next video.